Yep, when living in hillbilly town, Martinsville, you gotta have some goats. So, let's get some stuff done. You know, I think one of the key measurements of success is whether a guy can, you know, get things done whenever he has goats and such to play with. That didn't sound good, did it? Anyways, yeah, let's do this. It's a little hot out there, but I have a good episode, vlog, whatever you want to call it, for you guys today, I think. And talking to Jason Wilding and Alex Clay, two of the guys that are on a lot of our Facebook social media pages and Instagram and Twitters and all that stuff to help kind of coordinate all that stuff. We came up with 12 ways to improve your tone and therefore your playing also without buying anything. I know this can be, hopefully it's not gonna be that long, but hopefully it gives you some value and gives you some ideas. So first thing, gotta use my iPad. First of all, tune with a good tuner. I happen to like the Sonic Research. I know TC Electronics makes a good one. There's all other kinds of tuners as well that, you know, work. I like strobe tuners, and I like the strobe tuner on the Sonic Research. I think it's a little more accurate. As far as playing wise and tonality wise, to me it's like a big bummer whenever you play a chord and like something's just barely out of tune. Just drives me absolutely crazy, so I like to tune. If I'm gigging, if there's a downtime between songs at all, man, I'm tuning up. Another thing, practice without headphones. And I know if you're living in an apartment or something that could be impossible, here's an idea. Ask your neighbors when they aren't going to be home so you can crank your amp up. May help, may not. Or you could do the method that I do, which is just turn it up anyways. Hope for the best. So really the reason behind that, the reason behind not playing with headphones is there's something about having a guitar amp in the room with you. You know, when you're playing, there's like this connection that you don't get with headphones right here. I don't know. Just helps me, hopefully to help you. Another thing I find extremely helpful is simply standing when you practice instead of sitting. Here's why. If I'm sitting, the neck is closer to me, like everything is dramatically different. So if I'm sitting, everything is dramatically different than if I'm standing. So here, the guitar it's hanging a little bit differently. It's a little bit lower, it's a little more straighter versus like this, for example, or can be. I mean, it's just, you're holding it different. So you'll notice that you play a little bit differently whenever you stand up versus whenever you sit down. The big reason is if you're practicing while you're sitting down and then you go to play a gig and you're standing up, you should be standing up at a gig. It just feels different and you don't play. Sometimes you're like, I nailed this when I was practicing, how come I'm not now? And it's because you're not used to practicing that way. Okay, so the other thing is practice playing around chords versus playing scales. Okay, so if I'm playing something in A, it's something really simple right there, obviously, but if I'm playing an A, rather than going through a scale, not very musical. But if I'm playing around chords, that's a chord. So I'm going to build the solo down low and then I'm going to move it slowly up high if I'm working on the solo. I kind of backtrack a little bit, or if I'm playing around the chords. So that's obviously just like a really simple thing right there, but it sounds more musical than. Even though I'm building a melody out of it, you can do some different melodic type of stuff if you're playing around the chord. all I'm doing is just playing around. And then I moved up to the E. All I'm doing is playing around those chords, which leads me to my next point is something that I personally work on a lot. It doesn't come easy to me. I still practice it all the time. It's vibrato. I think you can tell a person that has like this maturity because of their vibrato, and I don't mean like emotional maturity. I mean like musical maturity. Sometimes I'll hear guys who are playing something, guys or girls, and you know, the vibrato is really weird. It's like it just doesn't seem musical versus. So, and like I said, I'm not the best at it. There's plenty of other people who do much better than I can, but something to work on that will help you get better. And a great way to actually practice that is with a metronome. And, or I like to use drum tracks. And I'll show you that right now. So the whole idea there is to start slow. I'm like 105 beats per minute or so. Start slow, go with the beat, and then slowly speed up. It just kind of really, it helps you, you know, kind of work on it, helps you maintain rhythm, which just sounds much better than just violently shaking it like crazy. Another thing I like to do whenever I'm working on songs, especially if I'm going to play the song with a band, if I can find it, I'll go to a site called karaoke-version.com. $2 or $3. You can buy like the multi-track version. You can pull out parts. You can pull out all the guitars, for example, and then you know, just download that. Then I'll play to that track, and making sure that I'm filling in all those holes and all those gaps like what you would hear on a record. That's a cool thing to do as well. Another thing that I just showed you as well when I was working on the vibrato thing was practicing with a drum loop or a metronome. I can't stress it enough. Playing in time is going to make you sound so much better than, honestly, than any pedal you could ever buy, or any amp, or any guitar, or within reason. I do like Telecasters, but still, practice with a metronome. You can download apps for free on your phone, or drum loops. You can find drum apps as well on your phone, or online as well. Another thing that's bound to happen at some point, especially usually at the worst possible moment, is you're going to be in your big solo. You're going to be setting it up, and you're going to hit a totally wrong note right in the middle of it. Don't let this frustrate you. Don't let obviously don't show the audience, of course. I mean, that goes without saying. Thing that I saw Brad Paisley do one time, which is great. I'm sure he didn't make it up, but it just worked out great. It was cool to see as well. He was right in the middle of this great solo, and he like hit a wrong note, and then he bumped his guitar, and it went right to the right note. So it was like, and he did it in such a way that it's just perfectly timed. I've also seen, it might have been him who did this as well, at some point where, you know, where it's like he's pulling the guitar, like pulling it into the note. Knowing Brad, he's a pretty good player, is probably on purpose. But it's still cool. And another thing a lot of guys will tell you to do is if you hit the wrong note, just kind of incorporate that into your playing. So. Oh no. I mean, that's, I don't know, what's that, melodic minor or something like that, I don't know. Anyways, so I mean, you can incorporate those wrong notes into your playing, and if nothing else, just call it jazz. Another thing that really helps me, especially by trying to break out of a rut, because just like the muscle memory thing, I tend to kind of do some of the same phrasings. So I like to break out of that. So what's helped me is to actually listen to other instruments. So for example, like if I'm playing country-ish type of stuff, I'll actually try to work out the fiddle parts or maybe the steel parts. I mean, it could be, you know, like brass or, you know, horns or, you know, anything like that. Just because everybody kind of phrases things a little bit different on the different instruments. So that's a good way to kind of learn new phrasings. Another thing I like to do is also just listen to like singers and their melodies, the pauses, the vibrato, all that stuff. And really try to mimic that playing along with the song. Try to mimic that in your playing. Even play the notes that they're singing and try to mimic all those spaces and all that phrasing and all that sort of thing. That's a great way to break out of a rut too. Another thing that's really helpful, and especially if you're getting frustrated, is just simply put the guitar down and go take a break for a couple hours and come back to it tomorrow. You'll be surprised at something that may have been really stretching your limits and you just weren't quite getting it. Just take a break for it for a while. Come back and you'll come at it with a fresh mind. If you're trying to learn something that's like especially fast passages or something that you're just not quite grasping at full speed, you can use all different types of software. You can download Audacity for free. Just Google Audacity. You can slow that down without changing the tempo. That's very helpful to learn all the little nuances or even all those notes that you are probably missing on a fast passage, and then practice spinning it up a little bit at a time. And there's also a place online, it's like onlinetonegenerator.com. You can also, I think you can upload like an MP3 into it and you can slow that down from there as well. So this is the big one that I was mentioning earlier when I was talking about learn your chords everywhere, or playing around the chords. And that's kind of a two-part thing. One, learn chords everywhere on the neck, and it really does help learning the scales that go along with them, but still trying to play around the actual chords. So for example, if I'm an A, I'm here. So in each one of those places, as I'm playing notes, I can just move up to the next chord and play around the chords. See, wrong note. See, I incorporated that wrong note into it. And all I'm doing is just playing around the note there, or around the chord there. So learn those chords. Learn your, I think they call it the cage system, the C-A-G-E-D. Learn those chords everywhere. Learn the notes that go around those. There's another A. And as I was mentioning earlier, that's really helpful. So like, let's say you're going to A and to a D. As you're playing around those chords, you can just slide up to the next position. So A to D. That's part of the A. It's a little rough, I know, but it's just playing around the chords, knowing what scales go around those chords, but really focusing more around playing melodies around those chords. So those are some of the things that have actually helped me. Hopefully it helps you. If you have any other ideas, I'd love to hear them. Make sure you comment below. See you in a few days.